for my kiddos at home. Okay. All right, so let's just do a read through first to kind of get us into it. And Leanne, I want you to read the first stanza, and Caleb, I want you to read the second stanza. Okay?
A noiseless, patient spider, I marked around little promontory it stood isolated, marked how to explore the vacant, vast surroundings. It launched forth filament, filament, filament out of itself, ever unreeling them, ever tirelessly speeding them.
And you, O my soul, where you stand, surrounded, detached in measureless oceans of space, ceaselessly musing, venturing, throwing, seeking the spheres to connect them, till the bridge you will need be formed, till the ductile anchor hold, till the gossamer thread you fling catch somewhere, O my soul.
All right. Now, just to kind of get us back into the world of Whitman, I want to remind you of a couple of things. So Whitman wanted to be the American poet, right? He wanted the American people to love him, embrace him, see him as their voice. However, when that collection of poems was published, Leaves of Grass, okay, he wrote about things like love and sex and lust and body parts, okay, things that a Victorian audience, they were not exactly welcoming to this. They didn't necessarily accept his poetry at first. Now they came to, okay, and he would publish Leaves of Grass, he would tweak it and add to it and fix things and change things and then, you know, republish it numerous times. I think like 14 times he published editions of Leaves of Grass, and so it became, you know, quite a pretty substantial volume in the end. But here we have a poem that I think speaks to like the vulnerability of the writer. What does it mean to be vulnerable, by the way? Do you what?
Helpless.
In part.
Weak.
What, Drew?
Weak.
Weak. Ooh, maybe. I don't know. I feel like you feel weak and maybe helpless if you feel vulnerable. But what does it mean to like allow yourself to be vulnerable? To let someone in, to like maybe have some of those insecurities that you have show, right? I always hear about it on The Bachelor. You know, ooh, I opened my heart. I let my, you know, I was vulnerable, and then they always get shot down because out of the 38 women, only one is going to get The Bachelor, and then it never works out. Another story altogether. So here we have a spider. Noiseless and patient. Got it. Where is he?
On a rock.
Good. On something jutting out over the landscape, right? Probably a rock. And it's all relative. I mean, it's a little bitty spider. So, you know, what might be kind of a small stone to us is a pretty dang big one to a spider, right? What's the spider doing?
Web. Building a web.
Is it creating a web? Why not? It's trying, but what's the difference here?
There's nothing to catch on.
There's nothing for the actual thread or the webbing itself to catch onto. Okay? So the spider is constantly throwing out these, what? Threads, I suppose? But it's just kind of floating out in the openness, right? Which is kind of sad for the little spider, but that's not really what we're talking about. It's not until the second stanza that we see what the spider is supposed to represent. And what is that?
Soul.
Yeah, not just any soul, but his soul. And you, oh my soul, where you stand, like that spider, right? Highlight this line, surrounded, detached in measureless oceans of space. Is it possible to find yourself surrounded yet detached?
Yeah.
Of course course it is. Y'all, I asked my first hour of this, and I guess they're just all super like outgoing folks because they were like, nope, it's all good. I mean, you can be surrounded yet detached. If you've ever been to a party where you really don't know people that well, and you fall back on like getting on your phone so you don't feel awkward, you know what I mean? Surrounded, detached. Is there anyone who's interested in moving to a big city like Chicago or New York or Boston? Okay, well, I've got several former students who are in New York, and one who is a junior at NYU. The first year she went, she was brave enough to go to New York on her own, which is a big deal. She didn't know anybody, okay? But the first year she went, she struggled. I mean, even in the most populated city in the country, she struggled because she hadn't found her people. You know? And I think the crowded city just highlighted how disconnected she felt. Does that make sense? Now, she pushed through, she found her people, and she's doing fine now. But it takes a while, you know? Sometimes it's in the most crowded areas where you feel the most isolated. Here we have the soul of the writer feeling this way as well. Okay, now, third line. Third line, second stanza. Ceaselessly musing, venturing, throwing, seeking the spheres to connect them. So let's break this down a little bit. We know the word muse. We've talked about it before. Remember, muses go back to the goddesses of inspiration from mythology. What are some words that we talked about that have muse as the base? Music. Museum. What else? Musician, amusement. Okay, all right. In this case, though, when he says ceaselessly musing, it means to think. Always thinking. Mind is always working. Okay? Ceaselessly musing, venturing. What does it mean to venture out?
Go off in the...
Yeah, that's the root of adventure. So it means to go maybe like explore, try new things, right? Ooh, by the way, lots of good vocabulary for your week this week, so be kind of, making note, right? Ceaselessly musing, venturing, seeking spheres, I lost my place, hang on. Seeking spheres to connect them, right? Highlight the last two lines if you haven't already. Till the bridge you feel be formed, till the ductile anchor hold, till the gossamer thread you fling catch somewhere. Oh my soul.
So what is he saying about his soul?
Well, all right. If his soul is like that spider, what is that spider seeking, Cassidy? What's the spider want by sending out all those little threads? Yeah, he's wanting it to catch somewhere, right? So if this is really his soul who's ceaselessly, sending out symbolic threads to the universe, right? He's hoping for a bridge to form. Y'all, a bridge has to have two sides.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay? So what's the soul looking for? Yeah, something to connect to. Y'all, that could be love. It could be friendship. Okay? And one of the beauties of this poem is it can be read on a couple of different levels, right? Till the ductile anchor hold. Anchor we know is gonna hold, but ductile, another good vocabulary word, ductile means like it is flexible, okay? Till the gossamer thread you fling catch somewhere. Oh my soul. And that whole tone of that last line, till it catch somewhere, oh my soul. It's almost like a prayer, right? Like, I'm looking for some kind of connection. Just please let it happen somewhere, right? Now, definitely can work on a level that we can all relate to. Wanting someone to, like, you know, understand who we are as human beings. Maybe that's a friend. Maybe that is a love of some sort, okay? But with Whitman, I mean, his really long poem that has 52 stanzas is called Song of Myself, okay? So with Whitman, I think often we can see it as his soul, right? Like he's speaking his mind. And his is the soul of a poet. And if it is being read in that manner, if the soul of the poet is sending out these threads out into the universe, then what might the threads be?
Written words.
Yeah, his poetry. Don't be jealous, Drew. All right. So, write that down, folks. This could be read as the threads being like his poems that are sent out into the universe. And how is he feeling as a writer while he's writing this poem? Yeah, like nobody gets him.
So he wants to be successful.
Yes, he does. He wants people to understand. Y'all, I got musicians in here. I got artists in here. I got writers in here. And when you create whatever your art may be, whether it's art, music, poetry, whatever, you do it for yourself to a certain degree, right? You do it because you love it. But at some point, what do you hope for?
Recognition.
Yeah, someone to appreciate it. So we have a really vulnerable Walt Whitman here. He's kind of letting his fears and insecurities show, which is going to contrast a great deal to the Walt Whitman that we see in Song of Myself. And also, it reminds us that poets, like other artists like you and me, they have different moods, right? I mean, you can feel on top of the world one day and the next day feel like nobody gets me, you know? And this is, of course, his expression of that. So I think it's pretty relatable. Now, here's what I need you guys to do. I know you've read this before, but let's be honest. When y'all turned in your annotations to this, first off, some of the annotations just flat didn't even come through. Like, I could not see where you had written comments on it. But secondly, those of you that did, they were kind of sparse. I need y'all, and we're going to take about 20 minutes, so if you finish ahead of time, you've probably not given it enough thought. I need y'all to really dig in, really add your ideas where they fall, explicate these stanzas, in other words, put them, in your own words, and highlight the lines that do really mean something to you, because your journal tomorrow asks you to do more writing on a few of these lines, okay? So I'm not gonna lie, there are some lines in here that I'm like, I don't really know what he means, but there are some lines that are absolutely brilliant and original, and I really think that you should be able to comment on, okay? So I'll be looking around the room, and I'm gonna want you to highlight, and I wanna see your writing on here too. Okay, take 20 minutes, and then we'll go through what we can before we have to get out of here, okay? Do that now. All right. Oh, you can have your phone out, but only to look up words you don't know. Okay? Only to look up for words you don't know. All right.